Good morning. Good morning, everybody. And happy Mindset Monday. Okay, guys, how are we today? Good morning. Good morning. I'm happy to be here. I have a whole bunch of things to talk about today. And if somebody could throw me, if you're on my Facebook page, throw me a hey and say, I see you, because sometimes Facebook is like, we're not going to stream you. So I always like to, even though it says live, I always like to get a little heads up if somebody's on there. All right. Okay, guys, today, the topic of my live, thank you for tuning in. I see you guys jumping on. I love it. Is called Simon Says. We've all played Simon Says as a kid, right? And it's Simon Says and how it relates to how we teach and how people learn. And I want to talk today about the power of education, and not education in a traditional way, not education in a way that there's an instructor up front and then there's an audience of people watching, and then you walk away and hope that you can do the thing that the teacher's talking about or that the teacher's showing you. That's not Simon Says, right? Simon Says is always about, I'm gonna do something and then you're gonna do it just like that. And I think today I want to talk about education for change and education for lasting change. And how do we create that? But before I get into that, I want to share with you a personal story. Like, I always feel like I have to come on and share, but I do think it relates to this, how we learn. So for those of you that know that I am obsessed with tennis. So if you wanted to know where I was yesterday, Indian Wells final was on. I was watching tennis. Um, I love to play tennis. I love to watch tennis. I love my tennis outfits. Um, I mean, the beat goes on. I I've had a tennis coach for years, and I've played in leagues, in clinics, singles, doubles. I just love tennis. And a couple years ago, I developed tennis elbow, if you can imagine. And so I had to go get treatment for my tennis elbow. And I had to go and get a series of injections. And then my doctor said to me that I'm going to have you lay off playing tennis for 3 months while your elbow heals. And I just thought to myself, this is like the worst news ever, that I have to stop playing. I mean, I don't even know how I would have done that because I was so in it, and it's my favorite pastime. It just takes me away from everything. And it's such a focus and it's fun. And I love the community I built. I mean, I could just go on and on. But this 3 month pause gave me some serious anxiety. And I was talking to my tennis partner at the time. I'm like, how is this even going to work that I'm going to stop playing tennis for 3 months? And she said, well, why don't you just play with your other hand? And I don't know if you've heard me tell the story or not, but um, I was like, really? Gosh, I never thought about that. But I think I can maybe play with my other hand because I have a double handed backhand. And that's like a lot of the power is with your left hand if you're a right handed player. So I was like, I don't even need to use my right hand. I could go and learn how to play with my left hand. And so I was so excited. Both my partner and I trotted off to the next clinic, and I pulled my coach aside, my tennis coach, and I said, all right, I know that I told you that I had to be out for 3 months, but I want to learn how to play with my left hand so that I can keep playing. And she just rolled her eyes at me. She's like, Carrie, okay, come on. Like, you can take 3 months off. And, so no, just take your 3 months off and come back and you'll start playing again the way you always play. And So I went home and I was like so gutted because in my mind, I could see myself doing it. I could see myself playing with my other hand. So I thought, you know what? F this, I'm going to the next clinic. And I mean, I'll be damned if she tells me to leave. So I go to the next clinic. I'll never forget this. It was a Friday morning, and I show up, and she's looking at me like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm holding the tennis racket in my left hand. And I said, "I'm going to learn how to play with my left hand. Like, I know that I can do it. I just need help. Like, I don't even know how to translate how to hold the racket from my right to my left because it felt so awkward." So she rolls her eyes at me and she's like, okay. And I'm sure that it was my persistence and, my charismatic personality that I talked her into teaching me how to play with my left hand. And for somebody like myself that's just a little bit competitive, that really likes to do things the right way, that likes to show up and be a powerhouse. I mean, I know that I have that in me. And so to show up in this same clinic where people are like killing it, and I'm having to learn how to play now with a different hand. So now I have the racket in a different hand. I don't even know how to hold the racket. I don't even know where to start my swing. And all of the nuances of playing tennis with your left hand when you've always been a right-handed player was super challenging and super frustrating and super uncomfortable that I couldn't play the way I played before. So when we think about habits that we create, habits that just get ingrained in us, like playing a sport with you favor a certain side. For me, it's tennis with my right hand, and I couldn't play with my right hand because of my elbow, right? I had to play with my left hand. The discomfort in sitting and learning a new skill set is frustrating. It's uncomfortable. You want to quit, all of these things. And I wanted to keep reverting back to my right hand, but I was reminded quickly that I couldn't because of my elbow. And I had to let it heal. And if I was going to go out there and play, I had to commit to a new way of doing something. And I don't know if this resonates with you at all in doing something new that maybe you've always done that's kind of worked for you, and now you have to learn a new skill set. But the thing that this taught me is that there's baby steps and repetition and remembering the why we went on this journey to begin with that is going to give us the longevity. And so, yes, I continue to play with my left hand. And after a while, people said they didn't notice. I felt a difference because I'm a right-handed person, but I was like, I'm going to play because it's better than not playing at all. So I'm going to be in this kind of weird space playing with my left hand. And today when I play, I could play with either hand, which is kind of awkward. I could put the racket over and I could have, in a way, four hands. And but it was a long time of sitting in discomfort to learn a new skill set. And so when we're learning something in our business that's new, and when we take kind of this story, if you will, and we have people come in to our salons if we're leaders, and maybe they go through our education program in our salon. People go through our education program for business, for technical training, right? So let's just say you're learning a haircut. First, you're going to watch somebody do something, and then you're going to keep doing it until it becomes second nature for you. That's how we learn our skill set. If you're not just going to watch a balayage and then go execute a balayage, no, you're going to watch and then you're going to try it and then you're going to get corrected and then you're going to keep trying it until not only do you get your skill set up, but till you become quick at it, till it becomes second nature, till you don't have to think about it and you're doing it, right? That's how learning happens. And do we get frustrated along the way? Yeah, I have had associates or assistants that work for us that are like, this is a lot. Like, I don't even know if I can do it. And we're like, you can do it. Remember why you started doing it, right? We have to always remember our why. One thing that I don't see in our businesses is that we teach business training that same way. We go to a business class and we listen to the person rambling on about what all the things you need to do, but do we ever try that on and become uncomfortable and get through that learning process ourselves in order to make that second nature? So when I hear and I see on owners' platforms, or I have clients that come to me that are just like, we're not profitable, we're not sustainable, and I have them send me their financials and I look at their numbers, and you know, if you've been listening to me for a long time, that numbers tell a story, right? They tell a story about a set of behaviors that we are taking on and that we're doing or that we're not doing, and therefore by doing them or not doing them, we get a result. It's like a report card, and that report card happens to be our numbers. And so if we're not happy with what we're seeing with our client retention, our staff retention, with our retail per client ticket or our retail percentage, our service per service ticket or the amount our clients are spending, our pre-booking numbers. Did I already say that? I could just ramble these on and on. So if we're not happy with this thing called the end result, the story that the numbers are telling, then what do we have to do? We don't just go back and tell somebody, I need you to have a better consultation. I need you to do A, B, C, D. No, we have to lay out, what does that look like to have a winning consultation? What does that look like? What does that specific behavior look like if I want to change the end result? Change the report card, change the story. If I want more referrals, if I want more add-on services, if I want a higher ticket, if I want my pre-book to go up. We know that these things create a better, more sustainable business. We know that. So what kind of training do we do to ensure that our team have that skill set? They're not going to get the skill set by having you coach a number. They're not going to get the skill set by you saying, I need you to do a deeper dive for a consultation. They're going to say, okay. And then they're going to make changes that they think will work. Maybe not what's proven to work. Now, where am I going with all this? Where I'm going with all this is, if we want to see change, we have to do something different. And yes, if I want a better skill set doing a haircut, I have to go to classes and learn that haircut and then practice it a million times on my doll head. I mean, statistics say to become a master at anything, the hours, the tens of thousands of hours that have to go into mastery, it's proven. So when I hear that owners are struggling with keeping their numbers up and helping their team to make more money, you know, we have to go back to Simon Says, right? Simon Says is like so simple. It's, let me show you how I know it's going to work. Then I'm going to have you do it exactly that way, almost like a robot. And so if people say, well, I'm not a robot, I'm a human being. Okay, I get it. But first, when I had to learn how to play tennis with my left hand, I had to learn like a robot. Come here and do this. This is the motion I had to practice like a robot until it became natural for me to get on the court and then put my own spin on it and find my own way. And that's what we have to ask of our team. We have to say, let me show you, and then you do it, and let's correct that. So I'm going to show you, then you're going to do it exactly the way I'm doing it and saying it. So I've had the great fortune of being able to do in-salon trainings, quite a few of them, since the beginning of the year. And so when I go into these salons, and of course I spent a lot of time with the owners prior to see what the priorities are. Most people want the same thing. They want their team to thrive, right? They want to see more butts in chairs. They want to see, with each butt that's in a chair, they want to see that client spending is where it should be and could be in order to really show the level of customer care and preparation that we could possibly be doing. So let's just take as an example one of the things that we've been going over, Simon Says specific, is consultations. People aren't trained how to have a great consultation via Simon Says. People are trained how to do a haircut like that. They're trained how to do a color like that, but they're not trained to specifically do a consultation to change the course or the direction of their numbers. So if you want to see change, there's three things that I want you guys to focus on, right? I'm always, just know when you come to join me here on Mondays, you can have a pen and paper and write down the three things, because there's always going to be three buckets to focus on when you leave here. That's my contribution for the week. So I have to try to sum everything up into like three buckets. So, all right, three things. So the first thing, step one, is focus on the end result when you're creating a training program, a Simon Says training program. Step one, create your end result. What do you want the end result to be? So what do you want people to do? What do you want to have happen after the training? Okay, so, oh, well, I want to increase my pre-book percentage, and therefore we all know that that's so powerful. We should be at 70 or 80% pre-book, because so many reasons. It locks the client in for their next visit. So you want butts in chairs? Pre-book your clients. Why do we say no to this factor? Why do we say no to looking at our benchmarks? Why would somebody tell you that numbers aren't important? Numbers are your feedback to see how you're doing and how you're serving your client, right? Yes, I get heated about this because I'm so sick of hearing people jump on here and coaches and this and that say benchmarks aren't important and numbers aren't important. They are absolutely important. They're important when you're looking at your paycheck and you're either getting or not getting what you want. So numbers are going to tell you the story of the behaviors, right? So if we want to increase our pre-book, which we know creates retention, it also creates frequency of visits. So I'm in charge. If my pre-book is 70% of the time, I'm in charge of my clients' visits, how many they come in, how many times they come in a year, how many times they see me a year. This is critical. Do you want your client to come in 3 times a year or 8 times a year? You get to have you're in the driving seat when you're focusing on that. So that's so important when it comes to your annual revenue, what you see in a year. When you look at that W-2 at the end of the year, that frequency of visit is everything, right? So that means your pre-book has to be high in order for you to take charge of that frequency of visit. So if I want that end result, then I am going to need to do a Simon Says training for my team on how to get that result. That's the end result, right? So focus on the end result. Craft a class that'll teach the student what you want them to learn through demo, then Simon Says. So what should they say exactly? Then they partner up with somebody and they have to say that specific thing. Ask those specific questions, right? Is it going to feel uncomfortable at first to change what I've been doing, the same consultation I've been having, which is, what are we going to do today? What are we going to do today? And taking charge of that consultation, taking charge of how we talk to our clients. We're the professionals. So if we want to see change, we're going to ask and say specific things that encourage our clients to think differently. But it won't be comfortable for me at first because I'm used to doing things a certain way. I'm used to asking the same question. So how do I start asking a different question? And the other thing is, so the first thing is focus on the end result. The second thing is craft a class that'll teach a student what you want to teach them through a demo, and then Simon Says. The third thing is have them repeat what you want them to do repeatedly until the robotic person, the robot that you're training, can put their own spin on it and make it their own. But you have to be committed to be a robot at first and just keep practicing this thing that feels uncomfortable. And it's not just for that day that you're doing the training, it's for the next day and the next day. So when I had to go learn how to play tennis with my left hand. I didn't just go take a lesson one day. It took multiple days, multiple coaching sessions, multiple game plays, multiple missing the ball, multiple games lost for me to then be able to come back stronger and see what was working and wasn't working. I couldn't just watch a left-handed player and say, oh, I'm going to now play like that left-handed player. No, I have to learn all the nuances of what's going to get me to the end result that I want. The end result that I wanted was I wanted to win games. The end result you want is higher numbers, is a higher frequency of visit, is higher pre-book, is your retail being higher, is your add-on services being higher, is that customer care being elevated. Those are the things that you want. And if you're committed to the why is it that you would be doing this training? Why is it that I'm going to craft this class that's like Simon says? That creates lasting change. If you have the class, let's say you have this class and you're like, oh my God, this class went amazing, right? And this is just great. Everybody really got into it and they were participating in the Simon Says and they were doing all the things that I could hear them doing. So when we're changing a behavior in the dictionary is something I can hear you say or see you do, right? So I could hear them saying something different. I could see them doing something different. The behavior is getting ready to change. It doesn't end at that class. I mean, then once we're done with the class, we have to be talking about it, celebrating it, looking at what didn't work. The numbers are going to tell you if what you're doing and what you're executing is the right path. If you're not seeing that change, maybe you need to tweak it. It doesn't mean you throw it out. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You tweak it and you see exactly the kind of change that needs to happen. And as a leader, you keep coaching it, and you keep celebrating it, and you create contests around it. And you start to create a dialogue and a culture that gets used to this kind of talk, this kind of consultation, these kinds of questions. And that's what the training should be like. So when I say that the topic today is about Simon Says, it's because we have to create trainings like that if we want to see lasting change. So look, I hope that my tennis story is going to resonate with you. And now I have a knee injury and I'm not even playing tennis and I can't play with one leg or I would, trust me. So my right leg and hip are in treatment. All of this because of tennis, because I'm obsessed, right? And if I could go out there and hop around on only my left leg, you can rest assured that I would do that. But I will be back. I will be back on that court. And I want you guys to think about what is your why for even training the things you're going to train, because it will get frustrating and it will become monotonous and you will want to quit. But to get the things that we want to get, we have to have persistence. We have to be so attached to our why. Yeah. And we have to be just so committed to getting to where that story is telling a picture of like, oh my God, I'm doing it now automatically. We have to be committed to getting there. And you can get there. You have what it takes to get there. We just have to shift how we do it. Coaching a number to change a number isn't going to change anything, guys. But Simon Says will. So I hope today helped you just a little bit. Throw me some comments. Let me know if you like today's Mindset Monday. Share it. Talk about it. Tag me. Tag somebody else. And, I hope that this just like gives you a little bit of a head start when you're creating either your training program or you're creating a training class where you want to see everlasting change. So I can't wait to see you next week. If there's anything you want me to talk about, drop me a comment. I'm here for it. I'm here for you. You guys really help me to stay consistent and create change in my own world. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. Mwah. I know you got this. I'll see you next week. All right. Ciao, ciao.